Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and welcome to another one of my retrospective Call of Duty critical review videos. So we are now on Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. We're going to go full throttle with these, try to bust out the rest of them. Of course, we still got Black Ops 3 to go, all the way up to the current Call of Duty of Modern Warfare. But I would like to wait for more DLC to release for Modern Warfare, as well as even possibly for Black Ops 4 if they decide to release more, before I do a retrospective review, because it can't really be retrospective if the game hasn't even finished all of its DLC contents, you know what I mean? But today we are going to be focusing on Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which is honestly a very controversial COD in terms of the enjoyment factor. People say it's either one of their favorites, one of their least favorites, or somewhere in the middle. It's all over the place for this game, and I'm kind of in the sort of field where I believe this game is not good. I don't think it's bad, I don't think it's terrible, I just don't think it's a good COD. It's one of my least favorites of all time, but that doesn't mean the whole game is trash. There's tons of great things about it, and there's also tons of bad things about it, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video, going through the pros and cons of every single mode and giving each mode a ranking out of a specific score set. So obviously out of 100%, we're going to give this COD a ranking. The campaign takes up 20% of the ranking, multiplayer 40%, and zombies another 40%. The survival mode, like the exo survival, that's going to be counted in with multiplayer, considering I don't really think it's big enough to be its own mode, but zombies is something that's important to this game, even though it wasn't even in the launch version of this game. You had to get DLC for it, but zombies has that replay value that I think deserves to have its own kind of ranking, similar to what multiplayer is and similar to the importance of it. So we're going to go through the entirety of this game, and we're going to give each mode a ranking, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of everything, go over what I love about it, what I didn't love about it. You know the deal. Let's get into this video, starting with the campaign. Advanced Warfare's campaign is without a doubt one of the most underrated campaigns in Call of Duty history. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I didn't really think much of this campaign my first time playing it, but I decided obviously for this review I would have to go back and play it, and man, did I change my mind completely about this campaign. This was one of my least favorite campaigns before, but to be fair, I haven't played it since 2014, so I go back to it now, and I'm blown away. I'm like, this is not nearly as bad as I thought. It's got some really in-depth storytelling. It's got some good characters that are actually interesting. It's fun. It's one of the more fun campaigns out there. The graphics are fantastic. Even for 2014, they hold up incredible. Like incredibly compared to the newer CODs. They're almost just as good. I mean, I think it looks better than Black Ops 3 in terms of the cutscenes and stuff like that. I think even the graphics themselves look better than Black Ops 3. I think it looks better than Infinite Warfare. It might even look better than World War II in some aspects, which maybe not the cutscenes, but they're very similar. For 2014, this was huge. These cutscenes were amazing. I mean, this was the second COD to actually have the cutscenes in the first place, because Black Ops 2 was the first one to have cutscenes themselves, but the cutscenes in Black Ops 2 weren't nearly as good as they are in this game. These cutscenes look lifelike. It's really well done. The futuristic gadgets are awesome. They're really unique and cool to mess around with. Just like Black Ops 2, there's a lot of futuristic gadgets that you can use, and they're really fun. You got the gloves where you can like walk on walls, you got the grappling hook, you got the invisibility cloak. So much cool shit that you can mess around with in this campaign that kind of hints at what the future of warfare might be like. Maybe not completely, but to a certain degree, possibly. The gameplay is really unique. It's one of those more fun COD campaigns where I feel like you can hop in and have a good time because it's just well-rounded. The gameplay is engaging. They keep you engaged rather than just being linear missions. No, there's all sorts of things you can do, all sorts of different methods you can go about playing. You got the upgrade system where you can upgrade your exosuit as you go along. You can get better sort of things to help you out. I think it's a solid campaign almost all around. The twist with Jonathan Irons I thought was awesome. I thought the character of Jonathan Irons was great. People didn't like him as a villain because he wasn't some badass like Menendez or Makarov or Shepard. He wasn't some ultimate badass who would be like, you know, shooting you and stuff like that. He's just some normal politician. But I feel like his character, especially how Kevin Spacey portrays him. I mean, we don't talk about Kevin Spacey anymore, obviously. What happened with him recently? But back then, I mean, he did a fantastic job with this game, and he really played a menacing villain very, very well. And I enjoyed the story with him. Now, there are some story problems with this game. There are some minor plot holes. There are some. As much as I said I love the character of Jonathan Irons and how he goes about himself, some of his motivations seem a little off. It's like he kind of just let you live at the end there. He disabled your exosuit and then just kind of left you there. That was really a weird scene to me. Why would he let you live? He's like, oh, I'm not a monster. It's like, okay, well, you just killed millions of people and you're not going to kill him. That makes no sense to me. I didn't really understand that. But the ending was also kind of anticlimactic in some ways. I mean, I do like how it didn't have to be some awesome, badass shootout or anything. It was more simply irons falling off the side of the building and you have to stab your own arm and let it loose. But I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more maybe with some of the other characters and stuff like that. I feel like it could have been a little bit more epic for a kind of campaign sort of a thing. And the soundtrack, it's good, kind of generic in some places. It's not bad. It's not a bad soundtrack. I think it's solid. I just think comparing it to stuff like Modern Warfare and that series and even Black Ops 2, the soundtrack isn't, insanely amazing, but I think it's good enough for what it was trying to do. So honestly, I don't really understand a lot of the flack that this campaign gets, because it does get some flack. People are always like, Modern Warfare series and the Black Ops series, only good campaigns. Well, Black Ops series, including just the first two Black Ops, they don't really talk about the other ones. But in terms of the campaign, they say those are the best ones. Every other one sucks. I think that's unfair to say. I do think that, yeah, the Modern Warfare games are probably the better campaigns out there, Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 as well. But Advanced Warfare, I think this campaign gets slept on. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm going to give it a 16 out of 20 for the final verdict. It is emotional. It's got some awesome scenes. It's got some awesome action. It's fun. It's all over the place. I love it. I love it. This is a good campaign. I'm sorry. I know people disagree with me on that. But I think the story is interesting and unique. Yes, some of the factors to it, like I said, there's some plot holes here and there that kind of make you go, well, that doesn't really make sense. But looking at the bigger picture, I think it deserves to be given a 16 out of 20 score, which is an 80%. So that's pretty damn good for the most part. So that is the campaign. Let's move on to the multiplayer. So Call of Duty Advanced Warfare's multiplayer was kind of hit or miss for me. I think at launch I actually really enjoyed it, like it was one of my favorite multiplayers of all time. But then as time went on, there started to be things that started ruining the experience in many different ways. And there's a few main points that I don't like about this game. I'd say 3 main points that I can point out to you right now. That is skill-based matchmaking, the exo movement, and supply drops. Those were the 3 main problems I had with this multiplayer. Those are the 3 main problems most people have with this multiplayer. And I'm going to just discuss all those as well as we'll go into all the positives that this game has, because it has a lot of positives, don't get me wrong. So skill-based matchmaking, of course, was a brand new thing added into this game, which it had kind of existed before, just not to the high extent that this game made it. And the reason why they included it is because they wanted players who aren't good at the game to still enjoy it and still be able to get some enjoyment out of COD. So basically what skill-based matchmaking did was it made it so you were paired with people who had similar KDs to you as opposed to based on your connection like it normally would. And it prioritized that KD that you had as opposed to prioritizing your connection. And they really talked about it a lot. They really had that as one of the main focus points for this game. And people actually thought it was a good thing. And I did too. I was like, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. It makes sense. But in practice, it ruins a lot of the game because it punishes the better player, basically. And we're seeing a lot of these problems existing again in Modern Warfare, which is really unfortunate because it should just be left in the past. They should prioritize connection always completely over your KD. Your KD should be at the bottom of the barrel in terms of prioritizing for matchmaking. It should never be a big thing. And to me, it was one of the main points I didn't like about this game because it felt like I was always in sweaty lobbies because of the fact that I had a pretty good KD. And it kind of ruined it. And then you got people who went and started to reverse boost, and they would ban people for reverse boosting, which was a whole sort of scenario, which was annoying when people did it. But at the same time, I don't really blame them for doing it. But then they got banned, so it was a whole thing. And it wasn't fun. I think skill-based matchmaking definitely ruined a portion of this game for me, and I wish it didn't exist in the first place. Of course, we also have the exosuit movement, which isn't terrible. I wasn't opposed to the change, but as compared to the exosuit movement in Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, this movement system is clunky as hell, man. I can't believe they actually went through testing with this system. It is just it just doesn't feel right. The fact that you can only boost double jump, you can't like control the double jump like you could in Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare. You can't really control where you go, so you kind of just go randomly up high, and you go really high. So there's a lot of situations where there's people who are like way higher than you, and you have to be looking up, and it just completely changes the scape of the game. It completely changes how you play Call of Duty, which I appreciated the innovation, but it wasn't good innovation. Innovation isn't always a good thing. People act like just because they change something means it's a good thing and it's unique, that's what makes it good. But no, not all the time is that good. I think Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, though, they took this system and kind of, I guess, made it better and made it so it was less clunky and it was more smooth, and I appreciate that a lot. I did not like it, and there was a mode that allowed you to play without the exosuits, which was nice to have that mode available, but the problem is all these maps were made with the understanding of this boost jump system, so when you played without them, it just became like a really slow match and ended up being just not fun. So you kind of always were going to play the regular mode anyways, but like I said, I didn't like the boost jumping system. Then we get into one of the biggest problems with this game was the supply drops. Now, I'm not one to act like that microtransactions can ruin the entirety of the game. I don't think microtransactions can. I think they can ruin a certain portion of the game. They can't ruin the whole game. But the ones in this game were really obnoxious, I gotta say. At first, I didn't really mind them. Not really at all. I thought they were cool and they were interesting. They were fun to open. Get all sorts of cool things. But the problem was when they started introducing specific weapons that were only available in supply drops. This is when that whole fiasco started going down, and you could only earn them from advanced supply drops, which you only get 4 free ones per prestige. Other than that, you have to buy them. So that was frustrating because I wanted the new guns. Everyone did, and you couldn't get them unless you got really lucky by paying. It was a gambling system, basically. And yes, they've done that again and again and again for some CODs that were more recent, but they've increased upon it and made it a little bit better, I guess. In recent CODs, like there's more ways to earn these guns. You can earn them for free other ways. They're not as egregious as they were in this game, but this game, it was just really, really rough. And they did add the ability to earn weapon variants through prestiging later on, but that wasn't the specific guns like the M16 that they had in supply drops, or they had the AK-47. They had all sorts of weapons, and it was fun opening them, I'm not gonna lie, but when you look back on it, it was frustrating because you were spending all this money just to get shit and more shit. That wasn't fun to me. Another negative, I'm going through all the negatives first. The streaks were really weak in this game. Score streaks were terrible. Now, they were interesting. They were unique because you could like put different attachments on them. I loved that system, and I loved the fact how they had map-specific streaks. That was great too, but the streaks themselves were really weak, even when they had attachments on them, and they barely got you any kills, so that was a little unfortunate. The maps in this game, not my favorite. I don't really enjoy most of them. I think some of the DLC ones were pretty good, but for the most part, the maps just weren't really well designed because of the fact that they had all these upper spots that were way too high. So there was a number of times where you'd get killed from someone that you not even on your point of view because he's so much higher than you, or he's so much lower than you, depending on the different scope of the map. And they had a very vertical maps, very vertical. And I wasn't really a fan of that. I would like it to stay more grounded, second floor, maybe third floor at most. But having like 4 to 5 floors per map was just a little ridiculous, and I was getting just sick of it. And that's why I'm not really a big fan of the map design in this game, and why I'm not really a fan of this game overall. I mean, at least Black Ops 3 still kept it a little bit more grounded, regardless of having the exosuits. The exosuits are more used for, like, you know, grounded battles. You didn't use them as much as I felt like you might use them in this game. You were boost jumping everywhere like a goddamn bunny. It was crazy. But I love the pick 13 system in this game. The created class system is one of my favorites. Having score streaks included in the created class makes it so you could have a lot more interesting customization options. I love that. The gear and character customization was some of the best out of any COD game ever, hands down. It was amazing. just the different things you can put on people, and you get it out of supply drops, I know, but I didn't really mind because it's cosmetics. Who cares? They had some really unique outfits, and it was really fun to try to go for them. Even the ridiculous ones like the gingerbread man or the clown. I don't care. It's a video game. Have some fun. It was interesting. It was cool. I thought it was fine. They added some new game modes that were pretty fun, like Uplink. I thought that was pretty good. The weapon variants at launch, the system itself, I actually enjoyed. Like I said, as the time went on, it started to become a system that became a bit of a problem, but at launch, I thought it was just fine. The game's really colorful. I love that. The maps have some unique elements to them. I know I said the maps aren't very good, but they do have some map unique elements, just like Call of Duty Ghosts, which I really appreciate because it makes maps more fun and more unique, so they're not like every other map. Even if the layout's similar, they're still unique in their own way. So overall, I think Call of Duty Advanced Warfare's multiplayer it can be really fun at times, but at other times it can make me want to rip my goddamn hair out. And I understand why some people might like it, but I also understand why some people might hate it. It's one of those multiplayers where it could really be hit or miss. But I think it's more positive than negative for sure. I don't want to give it a shitty rating just because of some problems that do exist in other COD games. Skill-based matchmaking is a problem in Modern Warfare. Supply drops were a problem in Black Ops 3. They were a problem in, I guess, Black Ops 4 even. The system like the exosuits, I guess that's more of a problem that I only really had with this game specifically. But a lot of these problems, they exist in other games, and I think they're overlookable. I can definitely sit there and be like, okay, skill-based matchmaking is annoying, but, I'm not that bad at this game. I can deal with it, right? So I can even play against sweaties and probably do decent. The exosuits I can deal with as well. There's things I can deal with. I can get over them. They just do drag down the game a little bit and make it so it's not as good as I wish it was. And that's kind of where I'm at with Advanced Warfare. That's why it's one of my least favorite CODs, is because it has some really good elements to it. And those elements I can't just overlook because they're great elements. But then there's a lot of shitty elements too. A lot. So that's kind of where I'm at with this game. It could have been a lot better, but I'm going to give it a 29 out of 40, so that's not really a bad score just in comparison to Call of Duty Ghosts. I gave Ghosts multiplayer a 30 out of 40, and this is 29 out of 40, so I think it's just a little bit worse than Ghosts, but it's still not a bad score. That's still pretty damn good compared to a lot of other video games out there, not compared to COD games, though. Comparing to COD games, it's really not that high. But there are some multiplayers that I think are worse than this multiplayer. But obviously, multiplayer isn't the only portion of the game. There's a whole other mode to this game, and that is the zombies mode, and that is where I think I hate this game the most. And so, yeah, let's get into this discussion revolving around zombies, because, yeah, that's going to be a fun one. So I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't really hate much when it comes to COD games. Like, I don't really consider much to be bad. The multiplayers, campaigns, zombies, most of them I'm like, you know what, even if it's not that good, I still can kind of see a lot of positives in it and therefore enjoy it to a degree. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, Exo Zombies, I think it's just terrible. I think it's absolutely terrible. I hate Exo Zombies. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's just not a good mode. It is not. And there's a few positives though. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the complete worst thing to ever exist, because it doesn't have a terrible, awful rating. It has, it has a terrible rating, just not like an awful rating. It's low enough, but I think where it gets the points are a few little minor features that I do appreciate, and I think the fact that it's Sledgehammer's first attempt at zombies, and hell, it's the first attempt for any non-Treyarch studio to try zombies, other than Extinction, which wasn't really zombies, but first attempt at what Treyarch did. And for an first attempt, I don't think it was terrible, but if this was like their second attempt at this, I think I would honestly rate it lower. I give them the benefit of the doubt just because of the fact that it's their first try, you know what I mean? That's why I gave World at War Zombies the benefit of the doubt, because it was the first ever zombies mode. The fact that it had so much of lack of features, I didn't really mind because it was the first time they had it. But come on now, this is literally such a bad mode, this zombies experience. So let's go with the positives first, because let's just be a little positive. There's a lot more negatives to go into. Positives, I think the wonder weapons were insanely cool and unique. They weren't really good or like powerful, but they were unique. The LZ Limbo was pretty cool, how it like shot like a horizontal laser beam. That was awesome. The Trident with the thing that like bounces around the room, the little laser beam, that was cool. Stealth Recauterizer, pretty cool shotgun as well. The Magnetron wasn't all that great, but it had some unique and cool weapons that it made it feel very different from Treyarch in terms of those specific wonder weapons, because there's not many wonder weapons that are similar to the LZ Limbo or the Trident, so I appreciated that. And I thought Carrier was a pretty good map, but all the other maps I thought were pretty bad. So actually, Carrier Descent were pretty good. I think the first two were kind of rough though. Even Outbreak, I really didn't like Outbreak. Infection, I think, is the worst zombies map in history of zombies, so that's a thing. And that's really only the positives I can think of. Oh, I guess, yeah, the power-ups were pretty cool. I like the power-up system, how they had a lot of unique power-ups, like the Power Surge, and they had the one that like did all the traps and had the traps go in and out. I think that was really unique. The one with the little stars that fly around you and they like kill zombies when you run into them. That's cool too. I appreciated that. But let's go into the negatives, because there's a lot. The story was straight up boring. The cutscenes looked pretty nice. They were pretty good graphics, but the story was just boring overall. It wasn't intriguing. I wasn't really invested in it. I don't think many people were, to be honest, so I don't think I'm in any sort of minority there. The mechanics were god-awful. The way you boost jumped, it was really clunky. The way you were to just pack a punch, that was a stupid system. It was like you had to do it like 20 times, and it barely changed your weapon damage or anything about it, really. I mean, why did they have a really nice camo for the first upgrade, but every other upgrade after that had like a dust and gross camo? That was really stupid. The Easter eggs were either really simple and short, or just really tedious and boring, but they weren't fun steps at all. I mean, I thought the Oz boss fight was kind of interesting and Descent, but like everything else I didn't have fun in. They had some cool features on some maps, like the grenade disposal machine on Carrier, but like I said, that was on Carrier. The other maps didn't really have anything interesting to them. We had some really obnoxious boss zombies, like the EMZs, which were just, oh my god, I can't stand those things. They weren't even difficult to go against. They were just annoying and just a complete distraction to just trying to play zombies. Training was literally impossible because of how the zombie AI worked. It was really just clunky how they acted. You were just constantly getting swiped from all angles just because of how it worked. The map locations were boring as hell. You were literally in some random ass Atlas facility for every map. Even the Carrier one, which I like the map. I think it's definitely better than the other ones, but it was still an Atlas facility. Why can't we go other places other than Atlas facilities? They just changed the location of the Atlas facility for each map. That's all they did. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there wasn't really much to these maps other than that. Oh, and don't forget the fact that we didn't even have a map on launch, right? We didn't even have a map on the disc. Now, I can appreciate if if they couldn't give us the maps on launch and they still gave it to us for free, like maybe the first map, Outbreak, was a free map, right? Just a free download. That would be nice, because it would be telling the fans that, okay, I'm sorry we didn't have this ready for launch, but here you go. And I'm pretty sure, honestly, it was a rushed mode just because they heard the horrible feedback when they heard that it was just going to be Exo Survival as a third mode. I don't know why today everyone was all excited for survival mode, acting like it's going to carry the third mode, but now everyone hates Spec Ops and Modern Warfare. I don't blame them. Spec Ops is boring. It's not fun. But Exo Survival, everyone hated it. They wanted zombies, and they must have pushed out a zombies mode within a few months because they did it. But why couldn't they have given us at least one of the maps for free? For the players, the casual fan base who doesn't buy the DLC, they're never going to get to experience any zombies mode, any taste of zombies. And it'd be good to give them a little bit of taste, because maybe the taste, they would like it and they'd want to buy more. But obviously most people probably didn't like the taste because it was shit anyways. I mean, they did have the survival mode, that last map. I guess it was on the Riot map. Yeah, they had a little bit of, zombies there, but it wasn't really fully fledged zombies, so I don't really, it was terrible. The whole mode was just not a good mode. It was probably one of my least favorite modes in COD history. Definitely my least favorite zombies mode, but if we're talking about any campaign, multiplayer, or zombies experience, or like third mode experience, I think this might be one of the worst. I mean, I'd say Black Ops 3 campaign, Modern Warfare Spec Ops, and Exo Zombies. I think those are the three worst experiences. If you were to take all three of those modes and smash them to one game, you'd have the worst Call of Duty. You'd have one of the worst video games of all time, in my opinion. I hate Modern Warfare Spec Ops. I think it's terrible. I think the way to design it was just terrible. I think Exo Zombies is terrible. And I think Black Ops 3's campaign, I mean, it has its interesting moments, but other than that, pretty bad overall. So there you go. There's the worst COD. I just created it. I mean, I didn't include multiplayer. I included a third mode and a Spec Ops, but you get the idea. Overall, Zombies, I'm gonna give it an 18 out of 40. And you might be like, well, that's a little bit high than I expected. It's just because of the fact I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not gonna sit here and just trash talk their first experience, because I think World War II, they definitely redeem themselves. I still don't like World War II Zombies that much, but compared to this, it was night and day difference. So I'm gonna give it an 18 out of 40, and you let me know how fair that is. Do you think it should be lower? Do you think it should be higher? I think that's fair, but it's just not a good mode, man. I don't know. I hate going back to it and playing it. I just can't stand it. So yeah, that is Exozombies. So with keeping all of this in mind, Advanced Warfare is going to get a final score of 63 out of 100, which is a 63%. So that's actually the same score as Call of Duty World at War, which is quite interesting because I know a lot of people love World at War and a lot of people hate Advanced Warfare. So for my list to have both of those games at the same level, it might piss some people off, but it's okay, because if you want to go watch my verdict on World at War, you can go ahead and do it. I titled it basically the same thing. I said it's not that good. I didn't say it's bad. I didn't say it's a terrible game. It's just not as good as people say it is. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. And this game, I just think is not good. I don't think it's not that good. It's just not good. That's pretty much where I'm at with Advanced Warfare. And I do enjoy playing the multiplayer every now and then. I don't enjoy playing the zombies at all. You guys already know that. But I can definitely hop on multiplayer, especially with some friends, and have a decent time. And campaign, I had a pretty good time replaying it. I thought it was interesting more than it was the first few times I played it. This game was going to be much lower rated overall, but because I enjoyed the second time playing the campaign, like multiplayer and zombies are pretty much where it usually was anyways. Like I was usually probably rating it the same way, because what I usually do for these videos is I rank the games out of the specific score before I go back and play it, right? And then I go through the campaign, go through the entire campaign first, and then I play a good amount of multiplayer and zombies, or whatever the third mode is. I play like a decent amount. I'm talking like at least a couple weeks worth. That's why these videos aren't as common as you might want. They're something that takes a little longer because I need to prepare myself. I need to play a lot of that game. Even though I've already played a lot of it in the past, I just want to try to reassess myself with the game. Of course, get gameplay as well that I might not already have saved. So it takes some work, right? And the campaign was one of those things where I felt so different when I replayed it. I was like, this is a lot better than I remembered. So the score went up for that, and that's why the score is not lower than World at War. It's why it's actually the same as World at War. And COD Ghost's score actually went down. I thought I enjoyed the campaign more for COD Ghosts than I previously did, but it went down because I replayed it, and I was like, you know what? I didn't really like that much. I thought the story was really iffy. You really notice things when you play through them again, and especially for story modes, that's really important. So I don't think this is the worst COD. Maybe it is the worst COD. It's between this or World at War, honestly, and it's insane for me to say that because I have so many amazing memories on World at War that I can't ever forget. It was so nostalgic for me, but I can't sit here with nostalgic blindfolds on and pretend like that game was perfect. It was broken. It was broken. The zombies was really simple. You know what I mean? But you'll see, of course, for my full ranking of every COD game not too long from now, actually. I'm probably going to try to do that video soon, but next up after this for the full critical retrospective reviews is, of course, Black Ops 3. Very excited to go back and play that game because I love Black Ops 3. It's definitely one of my favorite CODs of all time, so you're going to see a lot of positives about it, some negatives, specifically referring to the campaign, but you'll see. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about Advanced Warfare in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.